parents, welcome. It's a beautiful Saturday, so I want to come on and share with you a new information sheet that just been released. It's called the Myths and Truth about Parental Alienation. And also I want to take a little bit of time to talk to you guys. If anyone want to talk to me, come and talk to me about anything you want to talk about, parental alienation, your situation, any questions. Now is a great time to have that conversation. So come on and say hello. But anyway, so there's a new information sheet. I think some of you may have seen the maybe last week or so. There was an information sheet that was released called Parental Alienation is Real. So this is the second one in the series. So a group of organizations that have been advocating for parents and children of parental alienation. And we have decided to collaborate and release a series of information sheets. These are meant to be simple science-backed tools so that people that are working on legislative changes or to bring public awareness, you can use these information sheets. So the one that we just released right now is the second in the series, and it's called Myths and Truth about Parental Alienation. I want to first show you how to get the information sheet. So if you go to our website at victimtohero.com, you will see that there's a tab here for information and data. So you can click on that. So you can either choose downloadable library, it will take you to the same place, or you can just simply click on information and data. And you see it's right here. It's called Myths and Truth about Parental Alienation Information Sheet. If you wanted to get the one that I mentioned, the first one in the series is right down here, Parental Alienation is Real. So let's kind of look at it. So if you click on this, okay, so if you click on it, you will see the image of the front and the back sides of the sheet. You can also download it. So click on the click here to download, and it will give you the actual full two-sided sheet. It's a single page. It's very easy to use. It just have high-level sort of critical points that help providing some kind of high-level information. So one of the things that has been sort of spreading out there is a lot of misinformation that have been very harmful for parents and children that are targets of parental alienation. The problem is a lot of people that working in the legislation will, for some reason, buy into the misinformation. Okay, hi Gavin, you said one for you. I need to see my son, please. Yeah, so I'm so sorry. Yeah, so there's a lot of misinformation out there that actually has been very destructive to our fight against parental alienation, because there are people out there that do not believe in parental alienation being real or a lot of these things. So this sheet is meant to explain this misinformation, to kind of address and fight against this misinformation. So the first point is parental alienation is just a legal defense used by abusive fathers. Now, there's a huge group of people that actually believe that parental alienation is not real at all, and it's just an excuse. It's just a legal defense by abusive father. They said that parental alienation is only something that fathers who have abused mother physically in a domestic violence situation, and then the mother trying to protect the child, and so the father then use the excuse that that's parental alienation in order to win the custody in court. Now, this is a misinformation. It's not correct. The reason we're creating this information sheet is to try to explain what's going on. So what we wanted to do is using science information. These are scholarly publications. They have gone through peer review process, so they are rigorous. They have been proven to be true, accepted by the scientific community. So, okay, so on the right-hand side of this table is the truth. So you see here it said in over half of the cases in where parental alienation was found to have occurred, there were no allegations of other form of abuse. So it's not just a defense. It's not the defense that the abusive father uses. That's really just a misinformation. So research indicates that mothers and fathers are just as likely to be alienated parents. Parental alienation is a form of abuse and that does not discriminate based on gender. So I'm sure some of you guys have alienated the mothers, some are fathers, and some of you guys are mothers, some of you guys are fathers, right? So, and I love to hear it, because what they're trying to say here is only father claim that they are victims of parental alienation. That's not true at all, because I am a mother and I am a victim of parental alienation. So this is not just something that that fathers use as a defense in court. And there's many cases, and we found that in our audience, many cases they don't even fight in court. So this is not a legal defense. It's something that is very real. It's a phenomenon that affected a lot of us. It's something that was created by alienators. It's the real situation. Gareth said, I wish I had this last year. Certainly, I doubt that it would have helped here in Thailand. Oh my God. Yeah, it is such a worldwide problem. We have, wow, I'm so sorry. We have parents that calling in from all around the world, and yes, there have been such a lack of information and public awareness, and this is exactly why we decided to work on this. Okay, so the second point of this is that mothers do not alienate children; they protect them from abusive fathers. So this is another myth. Well, parents who use their child as a weapon against the other parent, regardless of gender, are committing psychological abuse when it results in severe parental alienation. There are ways to protect children from abuse without causing psychological harm. Research indicates that there is a double standard to accept and justify mothers' parental alienating behaviors while sanctioning fathers for the same behavior. So they actually found that because of this myth, there's a double standard out there. So if a mother claims that a father is alienating the children against her, then the courts tend to accept that faster and easier than if a father claims that a mother is alienating the children against him, and that's a problem. So anyway, you've noticed in this information sheet is that we have the explanation at the top, but then we also have the citation, like you see the small line at the bottom here that show the publication, the scholarly publication out there, the scientific publications out there that back up this information. We see Soleil, hi there, thank you. Where are you calling from? Are you also calling from Thailand? Okay, so the third point is parental alienation should not be recognized because it will be misused by abusers. This is such a misleading statement. To say that parental alienation should not be recognized because it can be misused. Well, you know what? Any form of abuse, there is always a risk for the abuser to pretend to be the victim. You're talking about even just physical abuse, right? It's just as likely for the abuser, like maybe a woman hit a man and then claim that she's a victim of abuse, that he was hitting her. It's just as likely, as any other form of abuse. So to say that, oh, because it may be misused and then it should not be recognized, then that's a serious problem, because then now you have silenced all the victims. You do not provide a recognition for the victim, and if you don't provide the recognition for the victims, you are not providing solutions. And then what about all these victims that are suffering from this pain? Kate said, I have had so many people reaching out to me on TikTok about all these issues. I use my platform to talk family law reform and parental alienation. Thank you, Kate. And then Michael said, in many countries, there is a problem dealing with parental alienation. Ghana's related topic. A lot of bad people bring up this issue and consider them to be valid. People associated with science should speak empathically on this topic. APA should recognize the term parental alienation. Michael, yes, this is such a big problem that APA is not recognizing parental alienation properly. And that's why if you did not see it yesterday, I did a short video talking about your opportunity to send your comment to the APA about parental alienation, because right now they're revising their guidelines for custody evaluators in custody situations. And the way that they wrote about parental alienation is very negative. They essentially said, "Oh, this term is confusing, so let's not even deal with it." They just essentially, to me, that means they outright deny parental alienation as a problem. And so, okay, sorry, let's continue with this. So, okay, so for any type of abuse, there's always a risk of abusers pretending to be victims. The risk creates a need for clear standards and reliable screening and assessment tools to prevent misuse. Yeah, just like any kind of abuse, you need to recognize it, and then if there's potential for misuse, then you need to create clear guidelines and standards and way to make assessment. The five-factor model provides that standard by requiring that abuse and neglect are not present before parental alienation can be diagnosed. So this is, you know, if you haven't seen the five-factor models, I highly recommend checking it out. We do have it on our website as well. You can just go to our website at victim2hero.com, and there's a search bar at the top, the very top here next to the Facebook and all that. You can just type in their five-factor model. But in order to diagnose parental alienation, you need to use these five-factor models because it considers the whole entire family dynamics. It's not just looking at one person, not just placing blame on just one person, but looking at this whole family environment, looking at all the parties involved in order to determine correctly if parental alienation is existing in this situation. So yeah, so parental alienation should be recognized. Just because it has the potential of being misused, it's no different than any other form of abuse. We need to recognize it, and we need to provide the right tools, which is the five-factor model is a very useful tool to diagnose correctly when parental alienation exists. And then once you recognize it, then victims will have the voice, victim will have the chance to get the solution. This is so important, but yet for some reason, people are using this as an excuse to not recognize such a huge problem. Look at all the suffering that all of us, all these alienated parents and alienated children are going through. The kind of damage it's damaging us for life. So, okay, so the next point is the alienated parent must be abusive for a child to reject them so strongly. Now, a lot of the time, in severe cases of parental alienation, the children will strongly reject the alienated parents, the target parents. And to the public, this is such a misinformation and such a counterintuitive thing. People, when they look at a child rejecting a parent, they will immediately assume that that parent is abusive, or that parent is not fit, and that parent is not available, not loving, that that parent is neglecting in some way. But that is such a misinformation. So let's look at the explanation here. Children who are abused by a parent tend to engage in behaviors to preserve and protect the relationship. They do not seek to destroy it. So yeah, this is counterintuitive, is because if you see a child rejects that parent, it's unlikely that the child is actually a victim of abuse by that parent, because usually the child will engage in what they call trauma bonding, or sometimes called Stockholm syndrome. So when a parent abuses a child, very often the child actually end up become more attached to that parent, and then they will take on the goal and the objective of that parent, and the child feel like they are actually deserving to be treated poorly or being abused by that parent. So when you see a child that is rejecting a parent, it's actually counterintuitive. It's not the way you think. It's not because that parent is abusive to the child. Okay, and we see this in foster care. Children in foster care usually yearn for their birth parents and frequently minimize the maltreatment that their birth parents perpetrated against them. So, you got foster care situation where there have been parents that have been determined to be abusive, and then they take these children and put into the foster care system. So these children have been treated really poorly. It's proven, right, that they have been abusive. And then when you do research on these foster care children, you'll find that even though the children have been abused by by their parents, they still yearn for that relationship. They still want to go back to the abusive parents, despite the fact that they were abused. Um, and they will minimize the abuse. So they do not reject their abusive parents. Um, the rejection of a healthy parent is not normal and is an outcome that is encouraged and often rewarded by the alienator. Yeah, the alienator will encourage this, and this is horrific. They want the children to reject the target parent, so they encourage it. And that is not normal. For a child to reject a healthy parent is not normal at all. But somehow the mental health professionals out there, the legal system out there, do not recognize this, and this is one of the myths that need to be debunked. And that's why we have it here in this information sheet. Okay, the next item said both parents are responsible for parental alienation. Well, researchers have found that the alienated parents' behavior are not typically caused by the child's rejection. It is the alienating parents' behavior that are largely responsible for the child's parental alienation. And these behaviors are usually not reciprocated by the alienated parents. Now, once in a while, you will have a hybrid case. That means that once in a while, you may have a situation where both parents are committing into the alienating behaviors, like bad mouthing the other parents or brainwashing the child or trying to destroying the child relationship with the other parent. But very often, that's not the case. Most of the time, it is a one-sided thing. It's caused by one parent against the other parent. So this is a myth. It's not the truth. Okay, the next item is research on parental alienation is not scientific. Clinical and legal scientific evidence on parental alienation has accumulated over 35 years. There have been over 1,000 peer-reviewed articles, chapters, and books published on the topic, and the empirical research on the topic has expanded greatly, leading to what has been considered a blossoming of the scientific field. Now, there's so much research out there on many aspects of parental alienation. And then to say that parental alienation is not scientific, and for people that say that it's junk science, it's so harmful for parents who are suffering from parental alienation. And like you see right here, and every of this information sheet, if you're looking at the back of it, there's a list of the scientific publication that is explaining these points on the front. So and then there's also the parental alienation database that is hosted by Vanderbilt University. So you can actually access that for free, and you can search a lot of paper, a lot of publication on there. There's also a parental alienation study group that also have a list of a lot of books on parental alienation. But the research is solid. It's scientific. So to say that research on parental alienation is not scientific is not true. Okay, and then the last point on this sheet, and it's absolutely not the last myth out there, not the last piece of misinformation out there, but we wanted to just create a highlight level point. Okay, this point said parental alienation theory was created by a pedophile. Okay, some of you may have heard this. Dr. Richard Gardner coined the phrase parental alienation syndrome. His clinical description of sexually abused children have been mischaracterized by child abuse and domestic violence advocates to portray him as a pedophile. It's not true that he was a pedophile. Such advocates have engaged in ad hominem attacks by taking his writing out of context to further an agenda that denies that parental alienation is real. This is so harmful, and many people will not look into facts. Many people would just buy into this propaganda. And then I would see like a lot of people that would just spit it out. Just go, oh, Richard Gardner created this term. It's fake. He used it because he's a pedophile. He's trying to defend himself and to help abusive father. No, look out there. Parental alienation affects anybody. female, male, wealthy people, non-wealthy people, people that fighting in court, people are not fighting in court. It's not something that just created to defend an abusive father in court. That's not true at all. Parental alienation is real, and many of us are suffering from it. And we also have children who are now adults who reflect back to what was going on with them. And if you deny the experience that parents are going through, you should at least acknowledge the pain and suffering that the children went through, because the children have no agenda here. They are adult now. They're not fighting to gain anything. So for them to say that they were subjected to parental alienation, they could tell you the kind of abuse that they're going through. You should listen to that. We have had a series of adult children of parental alienation who share their experience. If you haven't seen it, check out in our videos tab on our Facebook page. And we are also going to do more of those events where we're going to bring on more adult children of parental alienation so that they can share their experience. It's a great time for you to come in and ask your questions. And so yeah, so like I mentioned in the front, this is the front of the page. This was a collaborative effort by a number of groups that are advocating for parental alienation, alienated parents and children. And so you can see at the top here, there's Parental Alienation Study Group, there's Victim to Hero, which is us, International Council on Shared Parenting, PASI, which is Parental Alienation Syndrome Intervention, and then we have National Parents Organization. This is a collaborative effort because we want to have an unified message out there so that parents can have the tools for themselves and to share with the people that are working on their cases to help them, and also for people that are working on legislative changes. If you want to make the change in the law, this could be a sort of useful, simple tools that you can share with legislators. You can share this with your lawyers, your therapists, people that hopefully can understand this better to help you with your case. And then, yeah, like the front is the information, the back is the list of the references, and also the explanation of the citation that was used in the information sheet. If you have any question, any comment, I would love to hear it. And yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this. If you could please share this so that more parents can be aware of this. And if you need more information, feel free to reach out. We're going to be releasing more other information sheets in the next few weeks. So when it's released, I'm going to let you know. In the next few days, I wanted to talk about the outcome of an interview that I did with Dr. Sandra Baccarat. She is a professor in Brazil who is an expert in false memory in children that are subjected to parental alienation. So alienated parents will often say things that are shocking to you. You might hear children say, "Oh, you weren't there, you're not available for me, or you abused me," things like that. Things that you go, how is that possible? That's not true at all. It's because alienators have created false memories in these children, and the children buy into it and use it to reject you. So in the next few days, I'm going to do an event where I'm going to explain the information that I got from Dr. Baccarat. The reason we are not doing that event live is because I don't speak Portuguese and she speaks Portuguese and doesn't speak English. So we actually had a number of translators to help with that interview. So it was kind of challenging in terms of logistics. That's why we did not do that event live. But we do have the translation of that event, and I wanted to go through that and explain that with you, and also to take your questions or comment. Carlton said invisible and silent, invisibility and silence. Is that how you feel? Is that what you mean, Carlton? I think I do understand where parents feel like they're invisible and silent, because very often you feel like people don't understand you, and when you try to fight in the system is not supporting you. So I do understand that a lot of parents will express that feeling. Any other question or comment? And also please send us heart, because we try to collect heart cutouts for our parental alienation awareness campaign. So we're definitely looking for more hearts. If you could, this is the address here. Please, it's less than 2 inches, and it can come from anybody. We've been receiving hearts from all over the world, and we would love to have more hearts to put on this art installation. We want to bring public awareness to the problem that we are all facing right now, which is children are being brainwashed to reject us, the healthy parents. And this is to show that your love for your children is boundless, regardless of the attacks by the alienators or by the rejection by your children. Freddie, so to get the sheet be submitted in court, I think you can. You should talk to your lawyer about how this can be used. You need so when you fight parental alienation in court, there's a strategy of how to fight this. So, and then a lot of the time, you might have to bring in expert witness to discuss these points. The reason is because the court system, the way that they treat information is a little bit different than the general public. It's not that the court is blind. It's about the way that the court. It's kind of like you are going to a different country and they are driving on the different side of the road than you do. So if you are driving, you continue to drive the way you know, then you would get into trouble. And that's why I hear a lot of parents who talk about like how they are not able to get recognized in court. A lot of the time, yes, sometimes there's corruption and things like that, but a lot of the time it's because you are not understanding the language of the court. So in order to use this information sheet, you probably could, but I would recommend that you figure out the right strategy to do this. And most of the time, you need expert witness because they need someone to testify and be cross-examined, and for that to be considered credible. So you might need to bring in one of the scientists that bring out the points in these information sheets, or things like that to explain to the court what parental alienation is. Because a lot of the time, judges are not informed of what parental alienation is. They may have heard of it, they may have heard the misinformation. So for you to fight correctly, you really need to bring the right information. But yeah, I assume you are in the middle of the custody battle. And if you are, I also recommend that you check out some of the videos that we had where we interview lawyers about strategy that you can use to win custody in court. Because when you fight against parental alienation, it is not a normal custody situation. You need to take a different kind of strategy. So I hope that you prepare for that, and I hope that you get informed about how to do it. So check out the video tabs. There's a number of interview of lawyers. And also actually on our website, you also see there's a tab about fighting in court. Let me see if I can show you that, because let's see. So where is it? Sorry, let me get, yeah. So if you go to our website, Victim to Hero, if you click on Fighting in Court, we have a tab here called Fighting in Court. If you click on it, you will see this interview of the lawyers about the strategies and different aspects, the 5-factor models that you need to use to prove parental alienation, talking about the criteria for each of these factors, things like that. So, and how do you bring expert witness in court, how do you organize your evidence, things like that. So yeah, check out our Fighting in Court tab on the website for that information. But and then the other thing I want to say is that if you are fighting in court, a lot of parents will focus on the legal strategy and then they forget to take care of themselves. Now, fighting in court, especially against parental alienation, is very emotionally draining. So while you're preparing for your legal strategy, you also have to be fully prepared on your emotional well-being. So don't use your lawyer as your therapist. Prepare emotionally, and we have a whole discussion about that. But yeah, there's a technical coping and thriving, but also like build your support network so that you can you can be strong emotionally, so that when you deal with your lawyer, you can just focus on the legal side of it. And when you go to court, you can stand up and be clear-minded, and you don't come across as being emotional or being unfit in some way. So make sure when you go to court and fight in court, make sure you prepare on both sides of things, not just on the legal side. I hope that helped. And again, like I mentioned, if you have questions, you feel free to ask. Is there any other questions that you guys have, or any stories you want to share? I would love to hear it, because I know the kind of struggles that parents are facing. It's such an uphill battle, and you're being attacked on so many fronts. You're being attacked as a human being. You're being attacked in your role as parents. You're being robbed of your part of your life that is so important to you, which is your relationship with your children. And then you have to watch your children. You have to watch your children, seeing them suffering, and you feel helpless and not being able to do much about it. And then you have to deal with the false allegation, things like that. Mikhail, do I work with a parental alienation study group? Yes, PASG. Yes. So if you look at the information sheet, you see at the top here, see the first organization there is PASG. And then the next one is Victim to Hero, which is my organization. So yes, we definitely collaborate with PASG. I am a member of PASG as well. And yes, we do work, collaborate with PASG, yes. And it's definitely a useful set of resource, and it's open to the public. So you can also join and be a member of PASG as well, Michael. Okay, any other question, any other comment, stories, anything that you wanted to share? I think I'm gonna just hang out, and if you wanted to share anything, I definitely love to talk to you guys for a little bit. It's a Saturday, so let's just have a little bit of a conversation. Is there EC, do you want to clarify a little bit, Michael, about what that stands for? I don't think I understand your question. But yeah, so PASG is a group that has around, I believe, 2,000 members now, maybe. That has a lot of people that are experts who are working in the field of parental alienation, from lawyers, therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. But there are also a lot of them are just, and many of them are advocates. But there's also parents or children of parental alienation. Ursula Bon de Leon and EC. What does EC stand for? It's working now on a program about violence in family. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean by EC. Like, and no, I don't know Ursula at all. And where is this? So, actually the next information sheet that we're going to be released is actually parental alienation behaviors are family violence. Oh, European Commission. Oh, wow. Do you have more information on that? No, I am not aware of it at all. I do not know. But if you have information on it, would you let me know? I mean, it doesn't mean that they are not working with EC. They maybe, I can ask. I'm not aware of it, and that would be great. I do feel that some other country, like in the Europe or Australia, there's certain countries that actually are better at handling parental alienation than the US. And one of the reasons is that there are a lot of people believe that the reason is because the court system in America sort of set up for a very adversarial situation for custody litigation. So they, one is the lack of presumption for shared parenting. Like they don't, really, it should be the case that both parents should have shared rights and responsibility, equal share of rights and responsibility for the children, unless if one parent's proven to be not a good parent in some way, abusive or not safe or not available in some way, But in America, it's not always the situation. A lot of states do not have presumption of equal shared parenting rights and responsibility. And this is why one of the groups is particularly focusing on this push. Actually, two that we can see here in in the information sheet, you will see at the top there, you will see like one of the group called International Council on Shared Parenting, and another organization called National Parents Organization. That organization I know is really trying to push for legislative change, like for the recognition in the law of the presumption of equal shared parenting. And we have an event coming up with the leadership of this organization. So I think in March somewhere, if you look into our event list, you will see that we have an event coming up where we're going to interview this organization to talk about the progress that they are making on pushing for equal shared parenting. Because if we have that presumption, I mean, we're not advocating for an abusive parent at all, but unless if that is proven, both parents should have equal rights and responsibility to the children. And and if we can have that, then it can also help minimize the risk of parental alienation. It's somehow actually directly related. So that's why we are supporting and help advocating with this organization. Um, for us at Victim to Hero, we try to focus mostly on how do we support parents. We are not doing a lot on the legal side, on the law side of things. We're not pushing for changes in the law because our focus is on what can parents do. Now, as an alienated parent, a lot of the time you do not have the luxury to wait for the law to change. You don't have the luxury to wait for the system to change because the system takes a long time for changes to happen. So we wanted to focus on what can we do to help you, the parents, to deal with what you have right now, to deal with the system as it is. So we focus a lot more on like what can we do to empower you, the alienated parents. We do also support alienated children, the adult alienated children. Um, and then we also want to bring public awareness. These are our main focus. We don't have as much focus on pushing for legislative changes, but we do support the groups out there that are pushing for changes if they are supporting the same kind of cause, which is advocating against parental alienation, then we do want to support them. But we ourselves don't have the resources or capability to be able to handle a lot of those. So that's where we stand. Um, any question, any comment? What do you guys need? Um, what kind of situation are you guys in? Where are you guys calling it from? How old are the children? I think earlier we see Gavin was saying about not being able to see his son. Yeah, that's really, really a tragedy. What about other people? And this happened to really everyone. It can happen to men, women, can happen to younger children or older children, and it can happen to children of all genders, and parents of all genders. So, yeah. Any other questions? If we don't have any more questions, then I'm think I'm gonna go. Um, but thank you so much for being a part of this. And if you have question or comment, feel free to send it to us. And please help share this so that we can have more people being able to see this. Thank you so much.